You're still watching a live coverage of the End Bad Governance protests nationwide. And now we're going to be taking the conversation further. And joining us at this time, we have Professor Emmanuel Yede, is Professor of Political Institutions, Governance and Public Policy. We also have Professor Oke Ikechukwu, who's the Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. And we have Honorable Ifeanyi Uzokwe, is a representative of Inewi North, South, Ekosigo, Anambra State. Great to have you all.
Thank you.
All right, let me start with Professor Oke Ikechukwu. So it's day two, and we've seen proceedings so far. Some say it's more impressive than yesterday, but the demands are still there. And I've been thinking, what are the short-term actions that this government can actually take to make the protesters actually feel heard and actually say, you know what, I think it's time for us to take it back and watch what the government is going to do next. And one of the demands, they want petrol prices down to as much as 200 naira per liter. I would love to see that. Talk to me about how this can be realistically done, and if the Dangote refinery can play any part in actually bringing PMS prices down, and at what cost?
I think the first point to make is that the protesters have registered their anger, dissatisfaction, and if you like, dismay at the turn of economic events for everybody. That point has been made, that point has been noted. But I look at government communication and I ask myself, are we aware that there are levels of leadership below the presidency? We saw what Fubara did yesterday. How many governors have done that? The point is this. In every state of the federation, there's a governor, there's a local government chairman, there are council chairmen, there are ward chairmen. Should there not be instruments for government communication? Everybody is sitting at home and talking about a riot against the federal government, of which, and some of the states, the APC states, is it not scandalous that people should be rioting there? So there's a challenge of communication, but let's place it properly. Not quite 30 minutes ago, there was a guest here from, I think, Federal Housing Authority, who told them what they are doing. Fantastic. My question is, are most agencies of government aware that they are to send in weekly, if not daily, update on what they are doing to the Ministry of Information? No. So everybody, I come from my ministry, I talk. I come from a parastatal. That's why you find that every parastatal has its own radio program, TV program, which is most of the time not even watched by the staff. What point am I making? Government cannot continue in this manner, where somebody comes to talk about his agency, how it's shining, whereas a holistic approach is the ideal thing. Fortunately, you find that some other people have come and given a wider, a wider narrative on the matter. People like Dele, Malake, the minister himself, for instance. But the point I'm leading up to is this. 3 clear points. Number one, the challenge on the table is one of national angst. Number two, the matter of addressing that problem is not to paper things over. It's to admit some of the challenges that they are real. Is to make the protesters feel understood, is to make them feel that they belong. And that's why I think that it would help for Mr. President to address Nigerians. Let us also put a few other things on the table, like I said, I think on this program yesterday. If we pretend that the problem we are dealing with began a year ago, we are being extremely dishonest. 2 or 3 years ago, everybody who was paying attention knew there was going to be food scarcity. And so that's on the table among other things. And looking at it holistically, talking about the demands have been put on the table. Where it will create a problem is if those making the demands say it must happen immediately. A lot of things have gone wrong. If you want 200 naira per liter, I personally will want 10 naira per liter because I'm also using petrol. So having placed that demand, the heat is on government. How can you meet this specific demand, or at least respond to it in a way that shows that, oh, we're paying attention? Those are the things. Now, as for Dangote refinery, I do not know. You're bringing up an entirely different matter because the controversy surrounding that project, and all the stories in the media, I don't know how much of it is true. But at a personal level, I have genuine concerns about whether it will address it. And I take it from a totally different angle. What is the price of cement? Who are those in charge of cement? 3 companies, Dangote, Lafarge, and Bua. Now, the profit these 3 companies made together last year, 576 billion naira between the 3 of them. That's the profit. Now, supposing they made 300 billion, that would still be a lot of money. What is the implication? If I'm selling bread and I'm making a certain amount of profit, that's because I'm selling at a certain price. Summary of what I'm saying in simple terms. It means that the cost of cement is artificial. To that extent, and also with the allegations and counter-allegations about Dangote wanting a monopoly, my concern is, can we assume that it will really solve the problem? I have no answer to that.
I think
but the specific issues are this. Price of petrol, level of living, among other things.
There are a lot
Should
more
the government?
questions than answers. My apologies, sir.
Obviously.
There are a lot more questions than answers, which is, of course,
valid after so many years. And you are also spot on in saying that, this is a long time coming. It's not even something that started in this republic, which is just 25 years ago. But let me ask Honorable Ifeanyi sitting next to you right there. Now, Honorable, one of the demands that we understand has been made is that the legislature across Nigeria, my colleague Sean was speaking with Mr. Adeyanju yesterday, said one of the demands is that the legislative business should now be part-time. And, the number of, the retinue of staff to legislators at the federal and state levels should be brought down, and that we should come down to just one unicameral legislature at the federal level as opposed to a bicameral. How is the legislature, particularly the National Assembly, taking this?
Thank you for having me. I have been a proponent of cutting down costs in governance. When things are not going the way they are supposed to be going, you look inward and see what you will do to support government and the masses. Having said that, I don't know if the people talking about part-time legislation, I ask myself, is it the work that we are doing that Monday to Fridays are not enough? They only see us on television doing the work. Let me be frank with you. The committee I'm a member of, we are not going for this recess. We just came back from Port Harcourt, Joint Committee on Investigation for Downstream and Midstream. We just came back from Port Harcourt. We are adjourned for 1 week because of a member of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Dr. Patrick Ifeanyi that we lost recently. After which, we will reconvene. We have plenaries Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The same day we are having plenaries, we will retire to our different committees and we'll be working, doing our oversight functions. So I don't know what they are talking about having part-time legislatures. You can talk about, now we've approved minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. You can tell us that workers should be doing part-time, use 2 days to do their farming.
Well, we can come back to that, Honorable, just a second. But perhaps the issue is what you have also said, in that a lot is being done by the legislature, according to you and a number of other colleagues of yours, but no one knows what you're doing. That is why a whole load of people that you represent, whenever you go to your base, they are asking you to perform executive functions. So it goes back to the fact that there is very minimal communication, and I think Professor Ikechukwu also mentioned that earlier. There's very minimal communication about how government is working and what people should actually expect from you, the members of the legislature. The most that people hear are that senator is earning X million naira a month, and a member of the House of Representatives is making X amount of money, and all of your children don't work in Nigeria, don't school in Nigeria, they school abroad. So you are distant, disconnected from the realities that the average Nigerian is facing. So how is the National Assembly expecting people to believe them when you are so distant, seemingly distant from the people?
And that is not true. Because if you are talking about disconnect between the members of the National Assembly and their constituents, I would say it is not true. If it is true, how come you people knew that our children are going to school abroad, that we are earning so A to Z amount? Every Thursday, our plenaries are live. On many occasions, you see the speaker of the spokesperson of the House of Representatives coming on air. The truth is that there is so much anger that the people want to believe what they want to believe. You can't tell me we'll be having live plenaries on Thursday. I can only talk authoritatively on the house I belong to, the arm I belong to. If you invite me, I am here. If you invite others, they will come. So what do you want us to do again? Before I finish this program, I will present to Channels Television my pay slip for this month, for last month, for Christ's sake. I earn 936,000 naira. That is the truth. I stood for this election. If I tell my constituents how much I earn, they will not come and collect it. I will tell them the truth. I have my pay slip here. I will submit it to Channels TV. Are you telling me that if I leave my base, just like in Civil Service Commission, if I leave my base to Port Harcourt and I was paid an allowance, you calculate everything and say it's my salary? I don't believe in that.
All right, Honorable.
Transparency is the watchword now.
All right, Honorable.
Usman Danfodio said that truth is an open wound. Conscience is an open wound. Only truth can heal it.
Right. Thank you for that, Honorable. And we'll definitely be expecting that slip you said you sent to us. And I know, some people still talk about the benefits, that most of you lawmakers actually get, and how big, those benefits are. But let me come to Professor Ayede now. Great to have you, Prof. So definitely this conversation about cutting cost of governance, been having it for the longest time. And I'm wondering, realistically, how can we actually see that happen, in a country like Nigeria, where over 60% are multi-dimensionally poor? How can we make this happen, cutting cost of governance, really?
Yeah, I think a lot of things can be done. But what we have is a situation where a certain arm of government is perceived as a sinkhole because we don't appreciate the quality of work that arm is supposed to do, precisely the legislature. And it all began with the effort of the president at the beginning of this Fourth Republic to appeal to the general public to identify with him in his conflict and agitation with the National Assembly, what we call plebiscitary appeal. But beyond that, I think that there's a lot of waste. For instance, the legislature, the Honorable there was just talking about his allowances, which is actually where people are looking at. He spoke very easily about his salary, which is 900,000 plus or so. But he didn't tell us specifically what the allowance is. He was talking about, if I'm paid allowance to go somewhere and come back, why should anybody raise an eyebrow about that? Because other people also go to places and they know what allowances they are being paid relative to that of the National Assembly. Now, that's just for a joke. The real issue is that there's a lot of waste in governance. There's a lot of corruption going on because people weigh all of those in terms of value for money. And then, of course, look at the volume of scandals within government. And some of these things are played around in social media. So the due process is not working. We have the fiscal responsibility bill. We also believe it's not working. We also look at the revelation from the anti-corruption bodies and the volume of the amount of money that is being contested in these allegations. And people are wondering, how can somebody, for instance, say he signed out 40 billion or 400 billion naira by mistake, and the person is still out working? So somebody, again, a very important personality in government is making a speech and he says, let them be demonstrating while we are eating. I mean, these are some of the things that, sort of consolidate the idea that those in government privatize public resources. And that's actually where the cost of governance goes.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ayade. Let's come back to Lawmaker in the House now, Honorable Ifeanyi Uzokwe. Thank you very much. I think here that it's interesting that you put out your salary out there because a lot of people are interested in that. So 936,000 is a salary. Maybe I should start off by asking you if you could share the slip.
I will.
Oh, I thought you had it on you.
It's on my phone. Let me call my brother.
Oh, fair enough. We'll send someone to get it.
Yeah.
Well, you said 936,000. Is this with allowances or
everything?
Everything.
Basic is 600,000.
Has the deduction started? The 50% deduction?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes.
Okay, so we will really look forward to that. Could somebody help us get the slip so that we can double check? Okay,
because we need to understand what
because if he's being transparent, if you're being transparent, it's important for Nigerians to understand.
Let me. I was the president general of my town, Ozobo. Ozobo was that town that they killed 13 worshippers in a church. Mm-hmm. You can see what I passed through as president general. I escaped death by whiskers 2 times. At my age, if I don't say the truth, did you give me any money for election? That I won't tell you the truth. If I earn 100 million naira, I will tell you. You will not force me to collect it from me. You can tell me, oh, let us cut it down. Mm. I say, yes, it's good that we cut it now.
Okay.
Ask anybody that knows me.
One of the things
I hate flamboyance.
One of the things that they mentioned, really, we're going to get that page slip so people can see that. One of the things that was also mentioned as one of the demands is the need for a unicameral legislature, right? So we've talked about, part-time job. You said, oh, the work that you do, is it that the work you do is not enough with all the days that you come to work? A unicameral legislature will, in the minds of many of these protesters, be one of the ways that the National Assembly has shown that it has cut down costs. The work that 2 people are doing, let 1 person do it. Is that something that you think about? Because you say you are in support of cutting down the cost of governance.
Let me tell you something. If they tell me tomorrow to give up my seat, I will. But the truth is that they have so trivialized this protest that you don't even know what are they talking about. Call somebody in Kaduna, he will tell you a totally different thing. Let me tell you the way. Protest is a protest for whatever it means. It is not carnival. I expected the protesters to call all these activists. They will give lectures there. What they expected government to do. Not bringing musicians, dancing music. When is carnival becomes protest, carnival, are we not telling them the truth? Carnival, and we are saying, don't we know what is protest, for Christ's sake?
You think the protest has been tribalized?
I'm coming. I will love the protest that single protest item. You can never force this government to bring down fuel to 165. It is impossible.
Why do you call it force?
I say because when you protest, you are forcing. let me tell you,
it's a position taken by the people. Is it forced?
They gave us the authority by voting us there. They gave the Mr. President the authority to take decision on their behalf. Right? Am I right? Any other thing that you don't do through the courts, you are being forced. Any protest to achieve an end is a force.
Okay.
I go with the people, but I would have done it differently. If I'm closer to those people, I will tell them, please, Mr. President, we don't want fuel. No matter how you want to do it, do it. We don't want fuel more than 400 naira. This is our single request.
Is this why the people of the Southeast did not join the protest?
No! Thank you for asking us. The Igbos have been protesting. Who joined us? If the Igbos protest, the authority will come after us. If we don't protest, the protesters will say Igbos are not joining. They will target our investment. We have been protesting, nobody joined us. I moved the motion. We are celebrating Abiola today. By the grace of God, I served as Abiola's agent in my plea unit, unpaid agent in Ebuma Community School, Ozobo, 1993. Without knowing Abiola, I stood for him. See how people option A for how we voted for Abiola. Somebody declared Abiola the winner. Somebody declared Abiola, put his life online. Recently, Terry, I moved motion for the recognition of Humphrey Nwosu, the man that put his life on motion. Thank God, Honorable Ghana from Niger State supported my motion. Up till today, have you ever seen where Humphrey Nwosu has been mentioned in all these things? So, wait, I'm coming. He's an Igbo. We're not talking about it.
No, we want to stick with the issue of the protest.
Yes.
So when
how can we join the protest when we lost three illustrious children of Igbo?
So it's more or less.
Wait, I'm coming. We lost Ohaneze Ndigbo president Iwu Anyanwu. We lost Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. We lost Onyeka Onwenu, and they're expecting us to come out from our morning. Within 2 weeks to come and join the
Beautiful.
protest.
So the Southeast did not join the protest because they are mourning. Is that what you're saying? Or is it because you have been protesting and the rest of the country did not join you?
We have been protesting and the Igbos are engendered species. Nobody joined us. Let them do this one. Let us.
You know, this is different from what Senator Hope Uzodinma said, the governor of Imo State.
Of course.
It says the South is dissatisfied with the people, with the president.
Yeah.
The deputy speaker has also said that the president has been fair to the Southeast. This president has been fair to the Southeast, and that's why they have not joined. So I'm asking you, as an Igbo man and a lawmaker, are your people satisfied with how they have been treated by this administration?
Of course, no. With due respect to Governor Hope Uzodinma, he has his own opinion. Some people voted for him, as well as they voted for me. How can I tell you that Igbo people are satisfied with what is happening in Nigeria of today? If I finish it from this station, if I go back to my town, they will stone me. Because I'm not doing exactly. Look, that we are not fighting the president. Let me tell you the facts. Let me lay it on the table. Labour Party presidential candidate said that he will remove the fuel subsidy. Right? Mm-hmm. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar said he will remove the fuel subsidy. Right? Mm-hmm. His Excellency Bola Tinubu said he will remove the fuel subsidy. Right? They agreed on one thing. What they don't agree on is the mode, the route. Like P2B might, coming on that inaugural day, say, I will remove fuel subsidy in 3 months. Atiku Abubakar will say, I will remove fuel subsidy in 6 months. The truth is that they will remove fuel subsidy. Now, let us come to the president not talking to the people. During the campaign, how many times did the president talk to the people? Did he appear on any debate? You saw all these things here, voted him in, and you want him to change as the president. You people are not being fair to Nigeria. Tell the people the truth. Our president, never talked to Nigeria during the campaign, and you want him to change. It is not possible. You are being unfair to the man. He showed you himself. had an issue. And what you ordered was what was produced to you. So what are we talking?
I want to get because we need you to get that pay slip. Your phone is in front of you right now, so we need you to start to send the pay slip so we can show Nigerians since you're being forthright about it. But Prof, while he does that, we listen to the lawmaker here. When it comes to what the protesters are asking for, this cutting down the cost of governance. True, everyone wants to be able to say, oh, the buck stops at the president's table. But we have lawmakers like him. We have state governors. We have local government chairmen. We have a lot of people who are part of this governance structure. The cutting down of the cost of governance and the request for a unicameral legislature, is it realistic? Is this a realistic demand from these protesters? And is this something that you think could help?
I'll start from the protest and how it can be from the area of how to get across to the people. At a time like this, a lot of people will try to shine. People will come on television or read out something and show, oh, how they are defending government. And of course, they will all struggle to get you to the presidency. The fact is that government communication must be structured. There is only one institution in the country, aided by another of its forestators, that has offices, information centers all over the country. Discipline must return to government communication, discipline and funding, namely feeding, because the person in charge of communication is sitting on top of a pyramid fed through every federal information center and every agency of government. That's why you have press secretaries described as resident information officers, staffers of information ministry, resident in your ministry for feedback. All of that is distorted. Remember, I was special assistant to the Minister of Information. Remember, Jerry Gana was also Minister of Information before my boss. Go and ask two of them. And probably the current minister. Is that ministry funded? Maybe Idris is being funded up. Is one of the most unfortunate jobs to take. Because you're not funded and everybody is expecting miracle. That's number one. Some of the issues on the table now, like the beating of the soldiers, are that they say, oh, orientation. Is a national orientation agency funded? So all of that aside, you ask yourself two things. Let structure come into place. Let order come into place. Let discipline. People should stop running up and down and trying to shine. We developed that culture over the last 20 years, where anybody can break in or go see what I did. Meanwhile, the person has no reach outside some elite circle, and those around him will come and say, okay, this man is very good. That's number one. Now, on the question of entitlements of lawmakers, from the perspective of the man out there, as Honorable is talking, I'm playing back the perception. I use the word deliberately, perception of the public. Because, is it true? It may be wrong that the lawmakers were given bulletproof vehicles, each of which was valued at over 100 million. It was reported that the National Assembly was given 70 billion for palliatives. I can't confirm whether it's true or not. But assuming it's true, it will mean that a certain amount went to each lawmaker. And so the question of pay slip, when I was teaching in the university, I think there was a review of salary in the 80s. Now the issue is, you can have your pay slip, the banks do that very well, structured in such a way that your taxable income does not actually capture your real income. And so if you're calling for concessions or, you know, what you might call, what do you call it now, where you have to make release part of the money, you cut from the basic. So my suspicion, I may be totally mistaken because Honorable is here with us, that that call for 50% will come from the basic. He also made a valid point. Your transport allowance and other basic entitlements on assignment, you can't call the police for anybody on that. So my thinking, and I maintain it, and I've not had a counter argument. The last budget, it was rumored, I maintain rumored, because I've not seen it confirmed or contested, that over 30 billion was to go into car park, right? So, and also, each time the National Assembly comes, a couple of billions go into purchase of brand new vehicles, or vehicles that have been used for 4 years. These are the concerns. So nobody is, and concerning the matter of part-time, it need not be. Then unicameral legislature need not translate into a reduction of personnel, but it ought to. But a single house, trim down not to a number. I think also the number of representatives should be reduced. I think that the question of what's going on in the House, he knows. I know honorable members. Outside the country, they have full research team working. But when Nigerians like you and I look at a plenary, in a hall that's supposed to contain 30 people, you see 9. You feel insulted, and it's consistently so. That is part of the problem.
Honorable.
Let me come in here because that's the Prof. This is my June salary. This is June.
Basic.
Yes.
No, it's total.
So I think we should put that on the
Let's put it up.
Let them take it on screen.
So
Yeah.
it will, it will come up. So it is
But
930.
sorry to come in here.
Yeah.
Let
Prof.
me put something on the table.
Just before you do that, Prof.
It's not the issue.
Prof, let's get this out the way. You may not think it's an issue, but the average Nigerian is concerned. The issue of jumbo pay for lawmakers has been louder than ever. Now, 936,000 naira.
Yes.
You've been honest. 1 second.
In June.
Honorable, just 1 second.
Okay.
You've been honest enough to say you earn 936,000, and we have seen that. However, where's the 50% cut?
It's on
from this?
I think we have
Yes.
it.
Where's the this salary was paid on the 1st of August.
Yes.
When does the 50% cut
The
start?
salary they started in July.
This is your July salary.
Yes, they started in July. We approved it in July.
Yes.
And it has to go on processing.
So that's the
before they
salary
do
of.
it. Now let me.
the House of Representatives.
There's another misconception.
Since we're being honest.
When
No.
Let's on this.
Honorable, I want us to address the 50% cut that should have started in July.
Yes.
The reason is you are being honest now, and it's appreciated. However, Nigerians want a situation where the National Assembly is not just playing to the gallery. The resolution to cut 50% of your salaries for the next 6 months was supposed to start in July, right?
Of course,
And this is your July salary, fully
there's a point
paid.
we're missing.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
let me-
There's a point we're missing, Honorable. Sorry. 2004, after the budget came out, a committee chairman came, some members of the National Assembly, because the national press is under the Ministry of Information. There was 300 million allocated, and they came on, what do you call it, oversight function. But that 300 was for capital project. What is it that happens? Do they really carry out oversight? So if you say we are being honest, we should also be honest enough to examine. And that is not to say that every member of the National Assembly is on the train, but that's a dominant train. So what did the minister do? He said, this is for capital project. Nobody's getting a dime out of it. And he got clearance from President Obasanjo. The committee didn't get nothing. What point am I making? Part of what brings a scandal for the National Assembly is oversight functions. What they say, what is described as oversized bags as we exist the function and all of that. So if we're speaking of honesty, we must take up all the issues that bring discredit to patriotic lawmakers who are concerned about the fortunes of this country. That's the issue. But to pretend that all of them, look, when I spend 2 billion to go to the National Assembly, do I look to you like Red Cross? I'm not for that Christmas.
You know, this point you are making is valid. But sometimes when we mention these figures, they sound too bogus to the average Nigerian. And that's why the issue of Honorable Uzokwe's pay is really important.
You see?
When the National Assembly the House of Reps took that decision,
Yes.
the Senate was berated for not taking the same action as the House of Reps. Till today, that hasn't been taken. And then there were those who came up with the conversation of this is just playing to the gallery.
Another angle.
No, just 1 second. This is just playing to the gallery. That's why I want him to respond to Nigerians who would question why you got your full salary
in the month
when you're supposed
to take it off.
Yes.
Let me, we don't pay ourselves, right? It's just like the president saying, fuel subsidy is gone. The next day they implement it. Tomorrow, if Mr. President says today, I reduce fuel to 400 naira, they will tell you that it will take a process. We are documenting it. But let me be sincere and honest with you. The speaker of today, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has made our plenary so open that you can come in, you can testify to that. He does not hide anything. It was almost after mid-July that we cut our salaries. it was a Julian tax passing that motion to cut our salary. It went through because the deputy speaker suggested that we respected him and we cut our salaries. What they are going to do, the processes that we follow, I don't know. You might now, August now, because they don't cut or they cut, they will now cut 600 or 1 million naira from that pay. You might not have your pay. I don't, if I am here and telling you they cut or it started July or it will start August, I don't know. But it will be, it is a process.
It is a process.
Let me correct an impression by Prof. House of Representatives, if we are having a joint section, that capacity of House of Reps, particular, seats not less than, the seat there is nothing less than 1,500 seaters. So when you see us, in order to accommodate, when we are having joint sitting, it's there that we have joint sitting, to accommodate the senators and us. So whenever you see vacant seats, try as much as possible to do a head count. You will see that we normally, they are dormant.
You know I'm there.
They are dormant honorables.
You know I do. You know I do.
You've hit the nail on the head right now.
We have.
Because here's the thing, what Nigerians see, we see those proceedings, it's live every day. It's live every day.
Yes.
What we do see is that there are people who speak, there are people who don't.
Yes.
And you have mentioned now that there are dormant people in
course.
that. Good. Now, if there are people that are dormant, isn't it reasonable for the Nigerian who's watching to think, 936,000 naira. Why are we paying a dormant person 936,000 naira every month?
Do you know why dormancy? Wait, let me come.
This is not parliament.
No, let me come. Now, all right, you have to interrogate why the dormancy. Some of them might go for an oversight function. Am I right?
Okay.
They might go for an oversight function. They might not be there. There are people, I am telling you, for Honorable Peter Fine Uzokwe, since I have been elected, go and check the attendance register. Of course, there are a number of sittings you have to attend in a year. If you don't, people can recall you. Your salaries will be stopped. I don't think, since I've been elected and inaugurated February 7th, I have not missed 2 plenaries. What am I missing it for? My people sent me here they see me every day.
Supposed to be your only job.
You see me every day.
But there are people that
miss. Even if I don't have any motion,
but there are people that miss.
Of course.
Good.
If I'm here and tell you that there are people, the people are not
just
missing.
Consistently.
Of course.
Okay, so let's talk to Prof.
The onus lies on you to call out those people. That is why you people should checkmate us.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, Prof.
The onus does not lie on you to call out anybody, because there's a National Assembly, there's a House of Reps with a leadership that has to look into the matter. There's also the voting public that has to say we are not seeing our representatives. So the people are also remiss in that regard. Now, going back to the matter of pay. I remember when I was still when the new salary, our salary in the university jumped from 1,000 something to 4,000. It was as if the world was about to end in terms of cash flow. So the convenient thing was to ensure that a substantial percentage of it did not fall within taxable income. So if you came and cut it by 40%, you'll be smiling pretty. Now that's one. Two, it's commendable that the lawmakers have cut down 40%, 50%.
50%.
Now, let them also cut down 50% of all entitlements, including trips. Then it will be realistic, because that's where the money comes from, DTAs. I've had to travel out of this country on 0 DTA or 50%, as I say to Minister of Transport, to go and represent the Federal Republic of Nigeria on BBC Hard Talk. The conversation was, DTA, we don't have to wait for it. Let them they say, oh, there's no money. Okay, they say 50%. What point am I making? Picture that all the allowances are cut by 50%. Then you're becoming serious. But a pay slip, we all know, go to the bank, take the pay slip of the average group general manager even. Look at what's on it. Then look at what he gets at the end of the year. You will suffer a mild seizure. Now the National Assembly should not allow us of a mild seizure. Okay. She says he wants to be honest with us. Let them be honest about the true 50%, so not of the basic salary. Of the pay slip.
Someone actually sent us a question to ask you. How much does your aide make?
My aide?
Yes.
My SLA, 265,000.
Okay.
My chief media, I have 5 people working for me that they recognize.
Okay.
165 is my chief media. My PA 140.
Because what people are saying is that there's no lawmaker who doesn't go home with at least 8 million a month.
Now you're talking.
8 million?
Yes.
I go home with 8 million.
We're asking.
Let me shock you.
They're saying that that's what you go home with.
Let me shock you.
Sorry, what's the subject matter today?
Wait, I'm cutting
down the cost of governance.
Cost of governance.
Let me shock you. They're talking about Jeep, Prado Jeep, bulletproof, right? No honorable member has a bulletproof car except the one he bought himself.
So which car did you get?
Me.
Yes.
I stand here before God. If I've been given a car, I come to work with my Camry.
Was it monetized?
No, I've not received any.
So where
they said there is no money.
Where did there was a budget?
They said there is no money. One thing is budget, another one is to release it.
Have you questioned whether or not that
I
money
made the application that the mood of the nation does not call me driving a brand new Prado.
Yeah, maybe they sidelined you.
Give me the money, let me buy Tokumbo car.
Have you followed
I'm a Tokumbo person.
Have you followed up with your colleagues to be sure?
I followed it up.
And that money was not released at all?
No, there's some. The people that came earlier, some were released.
So some lawmakers got cars.
Some decided to take their vehicle.
And some took the money.
I don't know whether, of course, they monetize. If you don't want the car, they will monetize it.
It's disturbing that you sit in an assembly where your colleagues got those got cars or money, and you didn't get, and you didn't make any noise about it.
I said I've not received my car because.
Or not yet received it. Sorry.
Whether yet or now, you asked me if I've received my car. I said no.
2 issues.
Up till today, I've not received my car. But if that car is given to me, I will reject it. The mood of the nation does not call for flamboyance. In 2012, I went to America. I bought a brand new vehicle on my own. Out of the 50 states in USA, I've been to 18. There is no Europe I've not tried. Coming to National Assembly is not my life.
It's more of service, I believe.
Yes, it's not my life. I have something doing before.
Okay.
So let me come.
Something that earns you more than 936.
Why I did not receive
a month?
I am a maritime consultant. I make more than that before coming here.
Okay.
I would like.
I've been living in my house since year 2000. I use my money to stand for this election.
So this 8 million that people are accusing lawmakers of taking home,
I don't receive
it's a lie. You're saying it's a total lie.
Yeah. Why I will talk on my own that I don't receive 8 million. If there is other people like you talk about others, I don't know, but I will talk on my own. I will swear on my own.
Okay.
Do you mind? I want to share a document with you. Okay, and I would want you to speak to this document. It shows your travel and transport allowance, local and foreign. It shows stationaries, books, newspapers, and all that. So I'll just pass this to you and find out if any of these allowances are applicable to you as a federal lawmaker, so that we could speak to the truth as it is. Because whether you like it or not, in the NSAS protest, they questioned the salaries of lawmakers.
Let us talk it.
Okay.
All right.
Travel and transport.
Yes.
1.5 million. Right? I went to Port Harcourt for a side function. They bought our ticket to and fro.
Who bought?
Of course, the committee. Our air ticket to and fro. Economy. I went to Port Harcourt. They pay for our hotel. Up till now, I've not received the allowance. They said there is no money.
Okay, go on.
If I have received 1.5 million naira, I will tell you that I've received it. 2 million naira for travel and foreign. Right? Right?
Well, let's make
well, it's there, yes.
It's there.
It's there.
Sheldon Okibale traveled to US. Ask him if 2 million naira.
He's not a lawmaker.
No,
no, if
he's
2
not
million naira
accountable
not a
to the
lawmaker.
people.
No.
He's not a lawmaker.
A lawmaker enters the same plane with Dangote.
Yes.
So how can 2 million naira purchase return to
No.
We have to look at the
I have not. I'm coming, Prof. I have not traveled. I have not traveled abroad.
I'm sorry,
since I
Prof,
became a
if you
lawmaker.
give him a minute to quickly go through those
all of
allowances.
that. Look at the list.
It's
The
there.
principle is the
It's
issue.
on the screen,
It's on the
actually.
screen.
The principle is the issue, not the amount.
Yes.
These are approved
And that's why I
Yeah.
said let him speak to the amount. You will speak on the principle.
You see.
Picking them one after the other.
He will
We
do
don't
that
have
quickly.
time for that.
Please.
We are in a position to
Let
say
me
that.
see.
I don't
Let
have
me
the time.
see if I can get a breakdown. Let me see.
No.
if I can
Are
get-
you?
You will see this newspaper you are talking. It is all inclusive in the 936.
Okay.
I will print it and give you.
Our question, and I think that's what Prof is trying to
One
refer
person,
to.
one domestic staff in my, one
What
domestic
Prof is
staff in
trying
my
to-
house.
what Prof is trying to
45,000
allude to.
naira.
Okay, you know
the
what?
principle of it.
So let Prof now speak
Yes.
to the principles.
Should they be receiving these sorts of amounts in a country where we're trying to cut down the cost of governance?
936.
With all of these allowances.
The other allowances.
With all of
It
these
is wrong.
allowances.
It is wrong.
Prof, we're
I have
listening
it
to you.
back.
It is wrong. It is not true.
All right, so the issue is
I
this.
can't come here and accept that it is true.
The principle of it. This list captures approved entitlements.
Yes.
So your question is, should we have this list of approved entitlements in this kind of environment?
Yes.
That's the core issue. But he has raised a very important point that, look, if this 1.5, I haven't got it. But he's been owed 1.5. So in principle, it is also his money. They let them take forever. He can go to court for it. And the core question is this. Looking at these entitlements, are they realistic? That's the question. And that's the one that's on paper. And that's a concern people are sharing. Now, even if they are, how we defend it could lead to integrity deficit in public perception. Because it's also easy for somebody outside to sit there and say, oh, the lawmakers are not doing anything. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I have friends, I've been in government, I know the job is demanding. But I don't want to use the word recklessness, but the liberty with which some of these things are advertised is offensive. There has been no comment on the last budget. And it's nice that the Honorable pointed out that the car, he hasn't got his own. At least this is proof that there are some who haven't got it, who are being owed the car. Now, among those who got the cars, let's even leave those who got, maybe it was forced on them, let's assume that. Those who were monetized, let's assume the car was 140 million. Did you hear of any of them who went home and said, well, you know, you sent me to represent you. Now they gave me 140 million for a car. I have my own car. I'm serving you, but I can't dump the 140 million here because some of you come to me for children's school fees and all sorts of things. So I'm bringing 100 million to the constituency. Let's agree on what to do with it. There was no such element in the representation. And then that budget announcement, if you look at the specific items, particularly the car park thing, all of that is on the table. So even when you're trying to explain justifiably that there's a lot of misinformation, the loud silence about some core, huge, annoying expenses is the only thing people will keep thinking about.
Okay.
So a reflexive defense will not deliver. What will deliver is, like what you observe now, this fact that some haven't got the information, nobody. It is part of what should go into the public domain.
Very true.
So National Assembly should also ask itself, if you say you present the people and this is happening, how come the people don't know?
Why do people think
Why
otherwise?
do they think this way? Of what use is your constituency office, among other things?
Prof, that's a very good point. I think I'd like to bring in Professor Ayade here to react.
Let me.
Just before you do, just a bit. We've had Professor
Ayade
Ayade.
Become a spectator.
Prof, Ayede is not
Ayede,
the former governor, please. Prof, could you come in here and then perhaps wade in on what you've heard here from Honorable Uzokwe and Professor Okechukwu?
Yeah, I think important for the honorable member to listen to what the people are saying. You have those lists of allowances being passed around, and no one has come to say those things are false. Secondly, people are looking at other government workers. They feel that these people are also doing public service. And their pay structure is completely different from someone who is in the National Assembly. Not just different, but different with a very huge gap. Now, how do you justify that vis-a-vis other government workers? And that's why part of the demand is that government elected officials should not have a different pay structure. Now, when you now have this different pay structure, there is also the problem of the expectation of ordinary people. Because they say, what kind of job do you really do to qualify for that kind of difference in terms of the magnitude? And so they are saying, let's cut this down. Or they say, if we cannot cut it down, if there is really justification for it, let's reduce the number of persons in the National Assembly. So by having probably just one house rather than 2 houses. Now, there's also the need to then explain why there's need for 2 houses in the first place. And I like the point that Professor Okechukwu has said in terms of you can, in fact, have a single house and still have a high cost of governance. Because the legislators can also argue to say, okay, we are now doing what 2 houses are doing before. And therefore, our work has increased. We also require a higher pay. And then we still find ourselves in the same situation. But what the people are actually saying is, if we don't have resources and we have to tighten our belt, let's tighten the belts of government officials as well. Let the sacrifices go around. Let it be even. So not that we are asked to make sacrifice and then we see government officials, especially elected political office holders, living in one-ton affluence, resources that are also from the government. I think these are the dimensions of the argument that we need to look at.
You actually just touched on what the actual issue is. When we're looking at the cost of governance and everyone is saying tighten your belt, it does feel like some people are loosening theirs, and with everything that we've heard today, and all of the, these figures, we are actually inundated right now with messages from Nigerians who are saying, look, there's even more. This perception that lawmakers have, what should they be doing to change that perception? If they say that, look, we are not as flamboyant or earning as much as people think that we are, what should they be doing to make people believe that? Because it does seem like a very unbelievable story considering what we see them live on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was some time ago, there was this video on social media of a member of the House of Rep being attacked in Osun State, in Osogbo. And the reason is that he was going to intervene in something and he met real hostility from ordinary Nigerians who think you are not the one, to be telling us this. Because they believe that a lot of resources go down the drain into the legislature. Now, interestingly, it's not only this honorable that regret the situation. I've also met some state legislators who were so embarrassed by the expectation of people and the assumptions that they have so much resources, contrary to what they think they get from government. I think it's important for the Honorable to know that beaming House proceedings alive is not a good way to connect with ordinary people. The kind of lifestyle you live within the community, the many moments of interaction you have with them, the content of that interaction is very important. You have all of these aides. What do? Where do they live? Do they live with you in Abuja or they live in the constituency office? And how often do they get in touch with ordinary people? What feedback do you also get from these people? Because you can't just say people should go on with their perception. Their perception is very important, and you need to have that close interaction with them for them to feel it the way you think you are feeling, by passing the appropriate information to them constantly, regularly, and getting them aware of the challenges that you face. Because you also need the people, to make your work meaningful. Otherwise, if they don't, then you're also subject to the manipulation of godfathers and all kinds of people who can, affect the electoral process to your disfavor. So there's a lot of communication that needs to be done, as Professor Okechukwu has said, and it seems that the legislators have not been able to address that information management challenge.
Definitely very interesting conversations there, and we saw a lot of revelations and salaries being tossed around, definitely. But let me come to Professor Okay there. So looking at most of the protests we saw in other countries, in Kenya, Uganda, the demands was also about cost of governance. So I'm wondering, what is it about poor African countries always paying exorbitant salaries to their leaders, with dwindling revenue and high debt levels?
Well, if we also look at the political history of Africa after independence, the first thing we'll realize and admit that it had not always been so. How much were the Kenyattas, what's the man from Zambia now, Kenneth Kaunda, and the rest of them, how much were they paying themselves? How much did Mandela pay himself, even after the bad examples after him? How much did Awo take? How much did Ahmadu Bello take? Tafawa Balewa? And even much more recently, how much did Sam Mbakwe take in Imo State? How much did Jack Conde of Lagos, Adekunle Ajasin, and all of that? So you see that the issue is not what you might call a genetic African problem. It's a progressive degeneration of the quality of human beings who have taken leadership positions over the decades in Africa. There's a scarcity of great men. It would be unfair and untrue to say there are no great men anymore. But then you have people whose sense of their personal dignity is such that you could not possibly have contemplated approaching them with certain types of conversation. If they found out you were doing something, they would aren't you ashamed of yourself? To begin with, summoning your soul to its own dignity. So that is part of it. So you must also check the trajectory. There was a study, I think it was in the US, and it had to do with some anti-corruption modules. There was an interesting submission from two people, one from the CIA, one from another agency that deals with human capital development issues. He said that part of the mistake we make in Africa is the assumption that somebody can be taught anti-corruption. That when you give a lecture, people will memorize the content, they will even repeat it. Heads of agencies will come out and read speeches prepared for them, telling you the damage corruption does. But two problems are not recognized. Number one, that corruption is first of all a distortion of values. Stealing is an aspect of corruption, being that is a distortion of the reward system. The second one is that the misperception that extra wealth enriches you has led to some of the things we have here. That's why you see two people who are rich. One has no dignity. You can't respect him, but he has more money. Now, coming right to your question, it's a contemporary problem. It cuts across all of Africa, and is actually not an African problem. As silly as this might sound, it is a problem created for Africa by the West, sustained by the West, and with ongoing efforts to keep it going. Why am I saying that? You can't move $5,000 into the US economy without it's being noticed, as it's coming from outside of the US. Now, billions of naira in the US economy, billions of pounds in the UK economy, and all over Europe, from Nigeria, from Africa. And there are the people coming here to teach us about corruption. If you take your money to a Swiss bank, no questions. But that's the country that scores #1 in anti-corruption from Transparency International. So what am I leading up to? The talk about corruption in Africa can disappear first thing tomorrow morning. If, for instance, there's a complete lack of access to anywhere you can drop that money. So they are using it to run their economies. What's the relationship between France and French West Africa? So all of it put together, it is an African problem designed and nurtured from the West, sustained by conspiracy from the West, over which you have this nice concern. Oh, you see, your government has to become more transparent. They will give us lectures, but they warehouse all the loot we carry to their lands. So let us stop pretending. Let's also begin to look more closely about the monies we get from the Bretton Woods institutions.
You know, Prof,
which country in Africa has done well after a World Bank loan
and I think
or
I have,
IMF intervention, whether at the level of policy or cash?
And I think I have an idea of where that is going, Prof. But if you can just take this in 30 seconds because we're rounding off. Is it that we didn't know these things? How come we have allowed this trajectory to continue for so long? How come we tend to embrace it? How come, is it because some people benefit from it that they allow it to continue and consequently bringing, you know, importance, so to speak, bad governance into the nation or onto the continent, or that we ourselves are colluding one way or the other? What is the problem here?
It's a combination of both, but more importantly, we're colluding for a simple reason. I am in place, I'm enjoying something, and you tell me how I can continue to enjoy it at the expense of others, and I bring others like me and we are in charge, it gets sustained. So when criminals take possession of a warehouse, which their job is supposed to share food, but those who are in charge now are those who are carrying to their houses, they'll make a law banning anybody from collecting it except they give
so
it.
Then,
the summary of this is quite simple.
Yeah.
The leadership elite in Africa has become an adjunct to the conspiracies of globalized Western capital. That's why we are where we are today.
So then we will not say then that it is the conspiracy of the West. We will say it's a collusion of the West, which the Nigerians and Africans embrace.
And swindle them. They'll go along with whatever you bring.
Unfortunately so. Let me ask Honorable right beside you there. Now, Honorable, there's something that the Prof talked about the other time, and he talked about communication. And allow me to bring it into what I would call political speak. Most of the time, opposition never sees anything good in the government in power, whether be it at the federal level or at the state level, and you tend to have done the same thing, today. So, at what point do we begin to balance truth, real facts, with what people need, with good governance? Because on the one hand, you have said that the president is not doing anything right. On the other hand, according to from what my colleagues even told you, the social media is, replete with activities of not significant activity in the Southeast. And here you are saying, all of this political speak. So I'm just wondering, in terms of communication, what exactly should people be listening to from you? What should the people be listening to from members of the National Assembly to convince them that indeed what you are saying is not just the truth, it is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Well, let me correct an impression. I did not say that the president is not doing anything, right? I never said that. Let me come down to what you asked me. I am responsible for what I said. You become responsible for what you understand I said. Many a times, the spokesperson of the House of Reps have been here, have been talking. I am here today. I give out my pay slip. Can I force it on the people to believe what I'm saying? That is where distrust comes in. There's a lot of gap. There's a lot of distrust between the people and the government. Not even to agree on what we are saying. Not even to take what we are saying. We need a way to bridge that gap of distrust. And how, as a House member, how do we do it? By Honorable Peter Uzokwe, stop flamboyance life. Some people are well made before they come to the National Assembly. If you want the people to see you as an honorable member, you have to behave honorably. For them to agree that you are an honorable member, it is not when you can purchase a private jet, you stood for an election, you have been paid 936,000 naira a month, and the people see you driving the latest Land Cruiser of 500 million naira. Well, come on, how would they agree that you are being honest? You have to, our flamboyance, the House of Reps flamboyance, the National Assembly flamboyance, let us cut it. Whenever you're out of that place, after serving out the people, you can fly to the sky, you can fly to the moon.
It's interesting, Honorable, that you say that, you know, the National Assembly should cut their flamboyance.
Yes.
If they don't earn enough for the flamboyance, how can they be flamboyant?
Because some people you're seeing, they are made before they come to the National Assembly. Can you tell me what can you give to Senator Ifeanyi Ubah that he has not seen? Come to his house, even in the village before he entered politics. Many of them, they are well made. I told you that I started driving brand new car in 2012. So what are you telling me? Will I continue to do it under this present condition of hardship? You give me a brand new Prado, I will take it and be driving. No. I will take my money and buy a Tokumbo because we are Tokumbo country.
Okay, well, I don't know if what to make of that statement that you just made, but let me, talk to Prof.
And even the suit we are wearing is Tokumbo.
Just
the
1
suit
second.
we are wearing is Tokumbo.
Well,
if you don't understand what I'm saying.
As Kayla told you the other time, Honorable, I'm not a lawmaker. Well, Professor Ayede, let me speak with you. Just in terms of communication, Professor, I beg your pardon, the Honorable is trying as much as possible to be as transparent as possible. But there are those who would say that's just like a drop in the ocean. It's how, and he has also, suggested ways in which the National Assembly can begin to earn the trust of the people. And one of the comments that, Professor Ikechukwu made earlier is one solid way for trust to be built back is through communication. How do you suggest that particularly the National Assembly, and including the governors at the states, do that so people can know that, okay, they're really being sensitive to them?
Well, it's a difficult challenge because the orientation of those in government is for the people to feel their importance. And it is not in terms of being responsible for the people or being accountable to the people. Rather, it seems that like if they go to that point of being accountable to people, their power will be demystified. And what do I mean? I mean, the kind of entourage, the air with which they enter into communities has a more powerful message to the people than when they come as ordinary citizens who are like every other members of the community. You have this grand appearance associated with power, and it's a tradition that we need to keep. And without doing that, that gap, that divide between politicians and ordinary people will always be there. Now, there's also a conflict of expectation that comes with it. Because they think because those in politics have access to infinite resources, they go to them with different kinds of requests. And what you find politicians trying to do is to struggle to meet those requests on a personal note. So you provide boreholes, you pay for people who are sick, you give them money for their birthdays, and this rather than directing them to appropriate quotas and orienting them to begin to tailor their expectations to what it should be, you see them struggling to respond in this manner. And they therefore then reinforce the idea that they have a lot of money. They make cheap money from being in politics. And so they have created that relationship.
Okay.
They have to find a breaking down.
All right, Professor Ayede. Professor Ayede, so the Honorable did say, most of the lawmakers were already made men before they actually, got into these offices. So I'm wondering if we're having made men and women, get into these positions, why aren't we feeling it, as citizens? And is that is there a way, one can make political office less attractive, so that we can actually get those that are ready to actually serve the people, really?
Yeah, that's why it's interesting that the demonstrators are saying make it part-time, so that we see that those who are made and they are in the National Assembly or in the state of what I mean, that claim must be taken with caution. You understand? It must be taken with caution because I don't think that applies to everybody, either in the National Assembly or in the state houses of assembly. I think what is important is that if it is made part-time, it means that only those who can afford it will be part of that system. And it will then make the burden of funding some of these things a philanthropic exercise. And if we can really achieve that by making it part-time, and we have people who can fund the leisure and the time to provide that voluntary service, then we would have solved the problem of high cost of governance. Because it seems it's pointing to that direction as the way to go.
And I'm also thinking, if they're mostly made, then we should have less reports of embezzlement.
Absolutely. But that is contrary to the situation on the ground, as we see from reports, whether as allegations or even in cases that have been decided.
All right, let me take it to Professor Ikechukwu. Definitely, we're already seeing reactions to the protests in Nigeria. Currently, we got a report that investors, international investors, are asking for a risk premium. When it comes to our Eurobonds, it's hit a new high, 8-month high at this time. But we're seeing the local bourse here actually positive at this time. So, looking at all of this, do you think we're chasing away investors, at this stage?
One point of view would be that when an environment is very volatile and slightly unpredictable, investors should be expected to run away. But I always say that every environment has its own type of peculiar investors it attracts. If, for instance, there's hunger and famine and typhoid and people are dying, many businesses will shut down, or coffin sellers will be having a harvest season because there will be so many dead bodies to bury. So on the face of it, yeah, that concern is genuine, but it's also part of what happens when a nation is trying to sort itself out. We cannot, in the name of seeking investors, not address these issues. Okay, if in order to get investors, let's tell the people lies, let's pretend there's no. This will blow over, I have no doubt about that. And I think the matter of structured communication has been brought into focus. And you may recall in my earlier comment that I expressed concern about the funding of some of these things very quickly. I believe that the Minister of Information should be enabled to have, in each of the 6 geopolitical zones, a retreat for all Federal Information Office Center heads go around. Because if you look back to Jerry Gana, he did what he called taking dividends of democracy to the people. National Orientation Agency should also be enabled to do its job. From experience, I've not seen those 2 agencies properly funded. But whenever there's an issue, people pick on them. Take, for instance, the Lagos, the expressway on the road the Works Minister was building across to Calabar and all of that. What should happen is that you have that kind of thing. For such major projects with a controversy, there ought to be a component of the budget, usually between 3 and 5%, for communication. People who handle communication in government agencies, parastatals, they are not a part of management meeting, but if anything goes wrong, somebody says, this, you see what's in the paper. So those are some of the things to take arising from this. Also for the National Assembly, you recall that when the president went to Lagos with a massive convoy, there was an outcry. Within 24 hours or 48 hours, there was an official executive order on the number of personnel to travel with outside the country, the size of convoy. Frankly, I thought the National Assembly would immediately do the same. Let the National Assembly do the same. And finally, the question. Is it true that quite a number of the bureau de change in this country are owned by our lawmakers? If the answer is yes, then we are not about addressing our problems. Because it had come up officially in several quarters, and there's been no denial. Okay. That's part of the issue.
Very well. We'll take that as your closing statement. And
yeah, it is.
I don't think you have an answer to that, except you're an owner of...
He's an owner.
I wouldn't
He's on his fortress.
He can't go into
your final statement.
I wouldn't
want to dabble into that, because if you say some of the lawmakers are the owners of container terminals,
oh, okay.
Nobody will argue with you. I can own one. That was my profession before I came into this place. So maybe our brothers, some of our brothers, own those broad chains before they came into the National Assembly. I don't know of that. I wouldn't want to dabble into that. But let me emphasize on one thing. With the cost of election in Nigeria, there is no self-made person that will win an election. That is the truth. No teacher will stand for election and win it in Nigeria with the high cost of election. And let me take you to what Socrates said on the fall of democracy. He said, democracy will try to accommodate everybody. A woman will want to be like a man, democracy will give it to you. The poor would want the wealth of the rich, democracy will give it to you. The foreigners want to take over the land, the right of the indigenous, democracy will give it to you. But Obama changed it. Obama changed the narrative. Obama said, democracy will win at the long run if we all fight for democracy. That is, I believe, what you people are doing here. And I want to make known to the president of my research if what is holding Nigeria, the high cost of imported goods. If I give Mr. President my research, one single research, if he does it tomorrow, if the high cost of imported goods are not cut by 50%, I will resign my membership of the National Assembly.
Well, thank you very much. Let's get Professor Ayede's closing statements, please. Prof.
What goes on in the floor of the House. You remember the incidents of off the mic. It went down to people describing the character of the parliament. And when we have situations like that, and allegations that oversight is another subterfuge for extortion, they really need to talk to us about what's really going on in terms of transparency, in terms of their role in constituency projects as contractors, and so on and so forth. These are the ideas, that paint the National Assembly as an institution of waste.
Prof, I'd like to say a very big thank you to you for coming. We'll close this segment now. Professor Emmanuel Ayede is the Professor of Political Institutions, Governance, and Public Policy. We'll say thank you to Professor Okeke Chukwu, who is the Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. And then Honorable Ifeanyi Uzokwe is a member of the 10th House of Representatives. He represents Newi North and South and Ekusigo Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.